Okay, good morning. Many of you have done this before, but I'm going to go through problem 4-5, which is actually the first significant one where you're learning to turn an angle. Let's remember that lines have direction measured from the standard x-axis. That's why you draw strong baselines and strong base angles if you want to know the direction from the x-axis. However, very often you're going to have lines turned in direction off of other lines. So let's start by making sure, each of us, that we have started with the correct template. I'm doing this at home again, so I go to File, New. This is, of course, after doing all your other setups. You have to go to the right spot. You have to know where that spot is on your computer. At home, it'll probably be in something called the K drive. Here, I believe it is in something called the I could have swore it was the K drive. There it is, the K drive. Understand you can either grab a set of drawing examples or a set of template examples. Yours are set up to go for template. You see, mine always wants to go to the wrong place, so I have to jump back through. The programs are sometimes put into defaults. So in this case, I want to go to decimal. Mine is still set up as decimal feet. I'm a home version, so it's going to give me a stamp there. You do not want to be drafting on the paper, the white space here. You can usually ignore those things that come up. It has to do with trying to find things that are attached to a standard place, which is no longer standard. Click over to the model. Understand that you should have up, hopefully, the layers toolbar, which is here, the modify toolbar, which is right here, the draw toolbar, which is there, and then I've also got up the view toolbar, just so we can remember that we're going to do something with views. The layers toolbar, you can either click on this one here, or basically if you pull that down there, I am going to turn on all the layers. And when I do that, I see that box. I'm wheeling out with my wheel, or escape, 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 Z space, E space. I'm going to get rid of that box by left-clicking and hitting the delete key, or by left-clicking, right-clicking, and on yours, erase will be one of those things. So I'm going to do, I'm left-clicking on the thing, and then hitting erase, E for erase, or I'm hitting a delete key. You can draw a box with the rectangle command, or now that you know that you need to practice offset, it's not a bad idea. You see I've got all these. Remember, I'm going to right click. I've got them all set not to use icons. I've got them all set to use text, and I've got them all off, or I can turn an individual one on. You'll see later or now that each of these are all actually attached to a function key, so you can hit F8 and turn ortho on. If we're going to do this for speed, I guess we're going to just draft a box that's maybe, in this case, maybe 20 by 20. I might as well go to the correct layer to start, which is the view layer. Pick a line here, or just right-click line, or type L. Kick a spot here. I can turn on my ortho, F8. Take my hand off the mouse and write 20. And I could go around like this, 20, 20, 20. But I want to get you practicing offset. Offset is, I've got my ortho off. It could be on, that's fine. O for offset. 20 for the distance. Left click to select, and then select off on the side I want to be. Like I've done before, I'll turn on the dynamic and so you can see it the other way. I'm going to do a line from the shift, right click from the endpoint. You see how those things are giving me all these inputs and questions that I might or might not want to look at. Now when I do offset, I can either use the down key. That's actually not a down arrow there. That's not a bad one, or a right click. I'm going to go through, hit a return, or a click on my mouse. Select object to offset. Through what point? Shift right click the end point. I now have drafted things on the view layer. They have direction. If I click on one of this here and I type LI for list, you see that its direction is 0 right there. A lot of information there. If I click on this one here and click LI for list, you see this is going south or 270 degrees. These are on the view layer. Probably not a bad idea to do the -V right away. W for window, plot, view, and then grab your first corner, shift right click the endpoint, shift right click the endpoint. And now you've defined a view, and you see it right there. There's something called plot view. So if I all of a sudden zoom out someplace in some weird spot, I can always come up here and go back to where I need to go. White wheel out one time. Alright, I'm going to just start by establishing baselines. I'm going to go ahead and use an offset 2 and 2 just so I can get that piece 2 off the corner. So O, 2 for the distance, grab an object there, left click, grab an object there, and then we're going to remember that fillet, F for fillet, will actually have me grab that in 2 pieces. I'm going to left click. I can either change it right here by pulling down to the correct object, or I can go right click, properties, and I want to change the layer, not the color. You want to change the layer, not the color. And because every layer has a color defined with it, that will change the appearance of the color. Alright. That's 2 strong baselines, but if you notice on this piece, there's really not much baseline about those, except for the fact that there is a kind of an array or a set of holes that are centered 4.19 right of the main AB line and 3.79, I'm sorry, 4.19 right and 3.79 above. So you can once again now use your offset. I'm turning off the dynamic here. O for offset. My distance is 4.19. I take that and push it off to this side. And my offset, I hit a space bar, offset 3.79. I take that one up to there, and then I'm going to left click, and go ahead and change the layer here, right here if I want. Change that to center line. So if I have established strong baselines and strong base angles. Before the break, I'm going to show you how to set a setting so that it makes the rest of this a little bit more straightforward. An object snap setting or dynamic snap settings are obtained by, once again, shift right click. I'm going down to the bottom there. It fell off of your screen. Object snap settings. I go to dynamic input. I go to settings, and I have them set up this way. Show the following dimension input simultaneously, just one. I just want to see the resulting dimension. And you can change them back when you know what you're doing. This is how I recommend it, so you can do the following. This strong line here, if you want to change its length, there's all kinds of different ways to do it. You can draw a circle and you can trim, but one way to do it is if you have left clicked on it. Now if you left click on the edge you want to change, instead of hitting spacebar, you're going to get a different input if, in fact, you've turned down the dynamic. So I did it again, left click, and I left click here. You see nothing looks that odd. We do that for modify. However, if I turn on the dynamic and I left click and I left click again, I get that input, and I can tab there or go there and type in the length, 8.37, and hit a return, hit an escape bar, and I've changed my length. Alright, so that only works by turning the dynamic on. There'll be other ways, the length command, lots of others. Let me finally show you first time through how I'm going to make that change. I'm going to left click now. I've got the dynamic off. I'm going to left click on top of something. I'm going to space bar, hit C for copy, and I'm going to change it 31 degrees, turning it to the left, which is a positive angle, and I've got the next step there. We'll pick that up in the next video. Thanks for listening.